Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So the first part of chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga, that's the title of this chapter, the yoga of knowledge, of analysis. So what Krishna is trying to do here in this part, which we've been studying last couple of weeks, is to impress upon Arjuna why his sorrow is meaningless, because it arises from a completely wrong understanding of life, which applies to all of us. So what you must understand is all this sorrow and stress I'm going through has no meaning, because if you have the right knowledge and understanding, you are able to see through it and recognize the realities. And that's what he says. Everything in this world has a place and purpose. It is totally impermanent. It passes. You remember a couple of talks ago, he started it. This world is gata soon, agata soon. It consists of two types of beings whose breath has gone. Gata soon means whose breath has gone. Agata soon, whose breath has not yet gone. So either people are dead or not yet dead. That's all you must understand. Everything is passing. That's what he says. Even within this lifestyle, every phase is passing. It's incredible. See, when you're a child, you can never understand the childhood will pass. You think it will remain. It's amazing. You think you'll be with your friends and in school forever. You can't understand it will pass. Then you go to college, you believe. 4 years. Oh, it just passes in a wink of an eye, flash. And then youth, that's what he says. Then you feel youth will last. Where is it? Just goes. Then you say middle age, okay, at least I'm here, no, for a while. Before you know it, that's what he says. So birth, these phases, death, it's just a passing phase. And everything in the world also passes. So he said that, right? Which verse was that? I think the 15th, yes. He says, a person who's balanced in and through these changing phases. So what he says, the man whom verily these afflict not, balanced in pain and pleasure, steadfast, he is fit for immortality. So if you want to get to that permanent state of enlightenment, the prerequisite is at least there must be some balance in the world. You must be able to recognize everything is passing and not impulsive, emotionally go up and down with every little passing phase. So, and then the 16th verse he says, comes to the incredible truth Even if you've heard it before, those of you who've not heard it, it's inconceivable that this whole world itself, you and the world around you, is nothing but a temporary delusion. It's an illusion caused by ignorance of yourself, like the dream. That's what he says. The unreal has no existence, and the real, which is the real self, consciousness, God, never ceases to be. That's the only thing which remains permanent. And the truth about both these has been seen by the seers of truth. So from time immemorial, Gita itself is an ancient text, at least 2,500 years ago, minimum, probably longer. So he says, before that, this knowledge has been going on from the time of the Vedas, the Upanishads. And so many self-realized sages and saints have understood this truth. So it's not one person. This is a tradition that has been handed down. In fact, in the Gita later he says, Bhavo jnana tapasa, by this fire of knowledge, many have attained my being. So the wise person is one who focuses on this truth, on the reality, and lets these passing phases just go by. He watches them like an actor watches the play go by. He understands. See, when an actor is playing a role on the stage, he understands he's got nothing to do with it. In fact, he's thinking about somebody in the front row he wants to impress. He has nothing to do with the stage. If I do a good act, maybe she'll agree to have dinner with me. So he understands what he's doing on the stage has no meaning. His true identity is different. So that's what he's trying to tell Arjuna here. That why are you worried about these passing phases? In fact, he'll come to that. You should be focusing on your duty. What is your role? But ultimately, it has no meaning. And so he continues in the 17th verse in the same vein. Yes, any questions? Meenal.
Hari Om Gautamji, my question is, when we were chanting the verses, the meter changes or the tone changes between 19 and 20. Is there a reason?
There are many reasons. It happens few places in the Gita that the meter changes, the way it's chanted. If there's a particular concept that Krishna wants to highlight, the meter changes, so immediately your attention props up.
Yeah.
Because Gita is 700 verses, so like all of you, Arjuna also in the middle was. Sometimes he loses, it's too much, right? So he needs to prop up. And secondly, when there is a particular verse, like for example, where did you 20th?
19 going into 20, the meter change.
So 20th is taken from the Upanishads. It's actually an Upanishadic verse.
Okay.
They just took it from there and planted it into the Gita. See, why they do that is to tell you that there's nothing in the Gita which is apart from the ancient tradition of the Vedas. It's just a continuation. So they always do that to maintain that tradition, right? That this has come from there. There also, if you go to the Upanishads, they say the same thing. Iti shruma purvesham. Thus have we heard from those who taught it to us. So it's a infinite tradition, literally. So these reasons it changes the meter.
Thank you.
The concept and the tradition.
Gautamji, I have a question.
Yes.
So Arjuna came to battlefield to fight, but after seeing the family members and the teachers, he became paralyzed and decided not to fight. So if I apply this to an individual who is exposed to this knowledge but is not established, because once I am established in this knowledge, I have no anxiety for the future. So like most of us, what you usually say, one finger is in Vedanta, rest of the
Right.
body is away. So in that situation, is the antidote for the anxiety for the future temporarily until you're established in knowledge? Is it just being immersed in the action?
So you're saying you face this problem of anxiety for the future, and until you're established in the knowledge, which is when that will go, is it a solution to immerse yourself in action, right? See, the problem is, even if you immerse yourself in action, you may not be anxious about other things. You'll be anxious about that action, right? So you immerse yourself in your work, you'll become anxious about what's going to happen in work. So the problem is not the action. The problem is that the mind's nature is to be worried about what happened in the past and to be anxious about what's going to happen in the future. So every human being suffers from this disease of worries of the past, anxieties for the future. So you have to work to build your intellect, right? It's the intellect which can control the mind. So as your intellect grows, you will be more and more in the present. But coming to your immediate question, yes, if you have a clear plan of action throughout the day, it is far more easier to keep the mind in the present. Because if you're idling, if you don't have anything to do, then what will the mind do? It will go all over the place. So, see, like in the academy, we have a schedule from 4 a.m. to 9 p.m., right? That's what we want to reproduce in our retreats here. We reproduce the academy schedule. So, 4 a.m., nobody will be. So, we say we do a compromise, 5 a.m., right? 5 a.m. to 9:30. There's a whole day, there's a schedule. So, you know from one moment to the next what you need to do. So all the idleness starts only when there's nothing to do, right? Then you're thinking, now how to entertain myself. So yes, you have a point that you should have a clear plan of action. That makes it less likely for your mind to wander. But still, mind's tendency is to wander. Person is in the middle of a world championship final, and their mind will go, am I going to win the trophy or not? And that's when they start making the mistakes. Now, how much more intensive action you want? He's in the middle of the match. What happens? You can't say his mind won't go. It will go. See, that a typical example is some of you who've been following tennis, when I was a kid, we used to follow it. So in 91, there was a Wimbledon final between Boris Becker, you all heard of. A great player. He became world number 1 also. Recently, he was imprisoned. You see, that is another tragedy. Can't control the mind. This is what happens. Doesn't matter what you've achieved. But now we're not getting into that. So he was playing the final where he was the overwhelming favorite against a guy from Germany who you probably never heard of, Michael Steek. He only won that Wimbledon. That's why you never heard of him. And Steek beat him in straight sets. So after the match, they interviewed him. How is it possible that you won? It's almost impossible. Nobody could conceive. He says, I played, this fellow is my guru, literally. I've grown up idolizing him. If he beats me, big deal. So I just went and played my game. And the other side, imagine Becker. How can I lose to this fellow? Throughout the match. What will happen if I lose to him? Well, he lost. Straight sets. Not even a fight. So the mind became completely paralyzed. In fact, they admitted it. I'm not putting. So many instances like that. What else? It's not that you're not in the action, but the mind will. So ask yourself. See, we have sometimes these seminars in the companies. In fact, I'm doing one, right? Next couple of weeks later, for Walmart. Any of you work for that, you can attend. I don't know what they want to listen, but anyway, they asked me, I said, okay. So, so that's what we talk about. That you're working in the day, 8 or 10 hours, right, in the office. How much of that time are you actually on the work in the present? They themselves say 40%, 50% itself is extremely productive. Rest of the time, worries of the past, anxieties for the future. So even in this class, you're sitting all the time, phone ringing, you understand? That's why it's so much more productive. If you suppose you're sitting here, it's difficult to do that. You can't be sitting and watching. But if you're at home, a camera is off. Who knows? You can do whatever, right? So mind won't let you focus. So till you grow the intellect, give yourself a clear program. That makes it much easier to focus in the present. Got it? Not just work. Throughout the day, what do you want to achieve today? There should be a clear program. This much study, exercise, housework, whatever it could be. Commuting. Got it? Yeah. Neenal, you have something else?
Hariom Gautamji, my question is regarding the verse that you just did, 16. The thought comes to the mind saying that when you're seeing things, hearing, you're in company, you say this is not real, but then how do you operate knowing it is unreal, though you're in that reality? It's tangible reality. So how do you bring your focus back to that thought and keep that thought?
No, you can't keep that thought. I've told you. When we say unreal, this is the highest philosophical truth. You can't operate from that level. You'll make a mess out of everything. What family is unreal? Why take care of my children? Will you say that? A rabid dog bit me. A dog is unreal. My body is unreal. You'll get rabies. You better go to the hospital and get yourself injected. How can you take that stance? So it is unreal only for a person who's woken up to enlightenment. Just as the dream is unreal only for a person who's woken up. So till you are in this world, you have to play by the rules of this world. Cause and effect. So this thought should be, my goal is to reach something beyond all this. This is not all there is. That's about it. And what you need to do to grow spiritually, you focus on that. This is the knowledge I have to gain. This is the devotion to practice. This is the karma, the action to do. And do that with sincere dedication. So you're saying about a social function you're going. First of all, question yourself, why are you going? Is it necessary to go? Now, if you decide it is necessary to go, then do it properly. You're going there to meet people. When how are you? This is unreal. Self is real. They'll throw you out. Now, when you're doing something, do it properly. Right? Like the king of Persia. Remember that, all of you. That poem, even this shall pass away. Is there in the poems book. Seated midst the figs and wine, said the king, are friends of mine. Pleasure comes, but not to stay. Even this shall pass away. That's how you got to look at the world. You participate in it to the extent you believe you should, with the understanding that it's a temporary phase. But while you're in it, do it properly. So you enjoy every aspect of your life, you fully participate, but you understand. That is what you need to understand within. That this is not all there is to life. The ultimate goal is beyond all this. This is a passing phase. But by doing it properly, in the right spirit of service and sacrifice, you will ultimately come out of it.
Reach that.
So do it properly. Everything you do should be done with full commitment. So this is the whole problem with the wrong understanding of spirituality. Yeah, what is the point? Everything is illusion. Renounce everything. People have completely misunderstood. See, what is Krishna telling Arjuna? It's an illusion, so go away and start meditating. He's saying, what is your duty? You got to fight this war with the right attitude. That will help you evolve. But you can't take that stance now. Very dangerous. That's why I take these questions, because it's extremely important that you don't misunderstand.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Yes, sir.
Gautamji, Boris Becker went to jail for tax fraud.
Tax fraud. Yes. Now, why you want to get into that? Oh, there are so many others also who went. See, the point I was making is, because you are good in one field doesn't mean you have an intellect to operate in other fields. That's why it's so important to have this knowledge. Just because you're successful doesn't mean you have control over your mind. So when that greed comes, when those thoughts come, they can't handle it. See, I just read about a very sad story. Some big celebrity, he just died of that drug overdose. They arrested the fellows who were... Doctors are giving him drugs. Look at the condition of for money. A $12 vial, they sell it to him for $2,000. Fellow doesn't know anything. He's got money. So, until he killed himself. So, what is the point of all that success and name? You can't control your own mind. This is what people don't understand. Where the world is going completely berserk. So you chase all that. Not understanding is not going to help you if you don't have basic intellect. Now, who to tell this to? Yes, Arun, you had something.
A couple of weeks ago, when I'd asked about, with loved ones, with your son, and you get really upset about when something goes, when you talked about attachment, and that's what causes you grief when you're worried about your loved relatives. You said we have to grow our intellect. But isn't that very fundamental, that you are so attached to your children or to your sister and things like that, that it's almost impossible to get away from the grief when they fall ill or when they don't do well? How does one grow the intellect, and how do you actually come out of it? I mean, is it even humanly possible?
See, it's like a person who's never exercised in his life and never done anything to take care of his physical body, and you're asking, is it even possible to run a marathon? It's like saying that. See, this is a training of your intellect and mind. You have not trained your mind at all. I'm not talking about you personally, every human being. They have not put in any effort to grow themselves as human beings, to grow their intellect. So the mind is just attached and it seems impossible to come out of it, right? That's what happened to Arjuna here. You're asking exactly what Arjuna asked. How can I not be grieving if you don't have to do anything harmful to them and you're still so attached? He's magnifying the situation to an extreme degree. The people you're attached, you have to fight in war and probably kill them. So obviously Arjuna is devastated, right? Because he's not had the training. So at the end of the Gita, he says, yes, now my delusion is dispelled. So same thing will happen. As you get this knowledge and commit yourself to growing, you will get a control gradually over your attachment. You can't expect to be totally immune. That is a very high state. But at least there'll be a basic control. That you won't be agitated, anxious all the time like you are now. My children, what will happen? So, yes, okay, I have an obligation, a responsibility. Let me do that. That's one aspect of life. There are other things to look into. So you'll keep that emotion in its place. That's what you need to do. So that's possible. That's achievable. It's not even difficult if you apply yourself a little bit. It's like a marathon may be difficult, but running 5 kilometers is possible, even for a person who's not exercised. It takes some time. So right now you're so overwhelmed by your attachments that you're not able to think clearly. In fact, that's why you destroy the relationship. The parents are so attached to their children. What happens to that relationship? The children are waiting to get away from them, waiting to go to college so that they don't have to deal with parents. Once they leave the house, they'll never see you. Never see you in the sense, they'll never live with you. Forget about it. You will get a call Father's Day, Thanksgiving, or when they need a check for something. Definitely they'll come. Or a meal, whatever. So, Vedanta gives you that basic detachment. In fact, remember this: attach, you lose; detach, you gain. If you're detached, you give the other person space to live their lives, and they are attracted to you because you don't demand from them. When you're attached, you will lose the relationship because you're constantly demanding something from them. That is the definition of attachment. So what are you talking? It's the exact opposite. The more detached you are, the more attractive the relationship. And now who understands all this? So people say, how can you not be attached? So since you're asking that you are attending the Saturday sessions, Arun? No,
No, I haven't.
That's why we did that. The whole book was on that. You read that book from the beginning. The definition of attachment is what? Love polluted by selfishness is attachment. Remember that. When you are attached, you don't love the person. You only love what they do for you. So true love is when you love the person regardless of what they do for you. So what Vedanta wants you to have is true love, not attachment. It's not that it asks you to discard your feelings. So you marry somebody, they cater to you, you say you love them. They don't cater to you, you divorce them. What kind of love is? So actually you only love yourself. As long as the person does something for you, I love them. Same thing, children. There are people who've taken out ads in the paper. I disown my son from today. Legal notice comes. What children? As long as they catered, they are my children. They don't cater to you, they go against you, you'll discard them. It's all selfish. So learn to grow into true love, where you actually care for the person regardless of how you feel. You actually do what is right for that person. Then it's true love.
Clarification related to verse 13, last paragraph, where vasana has been referred. Vasanas are desires in unmanifest form, and once the last vasana is exhausted, your mind and intellect merges with Atman. So could you please clarify what is the relation between vasana and mind and intellect, and at the time of death, how the vasana moves to another body?
Vasana is the desires in the unmanifest form. So vasana is your state when you're in deep sleep, right? So when the vasana manifests as thoughts and desires, that's what we call mind and intellect. So it's one is a manifest form, one is unmanifest form. They're the same thing. So that's what he said in 13. Is in fact the physical body is a creation of your vasanas. Your physical body is created by your own desires because your desires need a body to fulfill themselves, right? So when you die, that's what he's saying. The body is dead, but the vasanas, the mind, intellect are there, the desires. So they will need another body. This is the cycle of birth and death. So the time you are free from this is through knowledge when you remove your vasanas. That's enlightenment. Then you're free from this cycle. That's what he's saying there. So he says, what is your problem? This cycle goes on. Beings are born and they die every second. Millions. Do you know right now? Most of you had breakfast, no? Right? Before the class. They were. Sometimes I see people in the class, they're coming with the last morsel. And then they said, okay, Om Sana. So, do you know right now how many bacteria you ingested with that food? How much you washed it? Millions, billions. And right now your acid in your stomach and your digestive system is neutralizing the whole lot. Means you yourself are killing millions of beings. Every second is going. So, what are we talking? So this cycle, that's what he's saying. This cycle of birth and death is going on. Now, what are you supposed to do? You focus on that. You're just attached to a few people out of the 8 billion who you call my friends and family. Nothing should happen to them. Rest of them, Ukraine can go, Israel can go, Palestine, who cares? India, Pakistan, who's bothered? As long as me, definitely my family. They live till whatever age I think they should live. Father should live till 90, mother should live till 95, and I should live till 105. Wife should go definitely much quicker than me. Whatever your ideas are, this is your life. It's like a little bacteria inside your stomach. My few other bacteria, they should live around me. You have no clue what's going on. No clue. So what he's saying is, your job, you have been given a purpose here. You make sure you do that. This cycle will go on. Got it? 17.
अविनाशितु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशमव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति अविनाशितु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशमव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति
Know indeed that to be indestructible, avinashi, by which all this is pervaded. None can cause the destruction of this imperishable. So as I told you, see what he's trying to tell Arjuna is the real self. We've been talking about this, right? We consist of a body, mind, intellect. This is the material level, which is, and beyond the material level is the spiritual, the self, the consciousness, the God principle. So he says these bodies come and go, but the self is indestructible. And the self is the all-pervading reality. It's not just the self in you, it's the self in everyone. In fact, it's the reality which pervades this entire universe. That is imperishable. Nothing can be destroyed. Nothing can cause it to be destroyed. So what is your problem? So the implication is you focus on that while you're living in this destructible world. That should be the way you live your life. That is Vedanta. So your purpose is to reach that indestructible, and you do what you ought to do to get there. That is the beginning and end of your day, your week, your life. Now the problem with us is our whole focus is on these changing things. So all the time, like somebody said, there's anxiety. What is this anxiety? Something will change. I'm doing something, but I won't get what I want. Change, right? You're worried about change. My health will go. My children will no longer care for me. These changes, which are inevitable, you're all the time anxious about. But if your focus is on the self, where's the problem? So it's that little shift which happens with this knowledge, nothing else. So compare the self to the ocean and the world to a wave. See, the wave has a name and form which is born, which lives, which dies. So if you look at the wave, what happens? You're agitated. The wave is there, you're happy. It goes, you're unhappy. But if you look at the wave as nothing but water, nothing but the ocean, what has happened? Nothing has happened. The ocean was, is, will be. That's it. So you don't understand the concept? Think about this example. Why are you looking at the waves? The whole thing is just an ocean. Nothing happens. That's what he's saying. None can cause the destruction of this imperishable. 18.
Antavanta ime dehaha nityasyotta sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharata. Antavanta ime dehaha nityasyotta sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharata.
These bodies of the embodied, which is eternal, indestructible, immeasurable, are said to have an end. Therefore, fight. Tasmat yudhyasva bharata, O Bharata. So, these bodies is the plural, refers to these matter equipments of the embodied, singular, refers to the self within, and the self is eternal, indestructible, immeasurable. So in other words, it is absolute with reference to the three things you know. Eternal refers to time. Indestructible, causation. Immeasurable, space. So if you carefully analyze, this world consists of three things: time, space, and an unending cycle of cause and effect, which you call matter. Matter is nothing but cause and effect. You are an effect, your parents are the cause. You become the cause, your children become the effect. Everything in matter is cause and effect. So the self is beyond any limitation, therefore eternal. You can't bind it by time. Immeasurable, space, indestructible, causation. So what is your problem? Therefore, what should you do? Fight. Fight in the sense, since your Arjuna's nature is of a warrior, you fight for a righteous cause. So what should each one of you do? Whatever is your swadharma, whatever is your field in life, dynamically execute that action for a higher purpose. That's how you will move towards self-realization. Right now you are using your talent, whatever field you have been given in life, whatever talent you have been bestowed with, for your own selfish reasons. And that's why you don't go anywhere. You end up with nothing but stress and sorrow all your life. So whatever you do in this world, it should be done to get to that eternal. You get it? Anything you believe will take you away from that, discard it. Anything you think you need to get there, do it. That's what is implied. That's why he says, therefore fight. He'll explain it in detail in the next chapter, but this is the concept. Rucha.
Hello, Gautamji. I have a question. The question is very simple. Is consciousness called as soul? And if yes, then does that soul have the capacity to carry the trauma that a person faces during war, like we are hearing about the rape cases and these things? Does the soul have the capacity to carry that in the next life?
See, the soul, you're right. Consciousness, soul, God, self, reality, the fourth state, enlightenment, liberation, moksha, nirvana, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same. It is that absolute state of pure consciousness, the fourth state. Now, the consciousness is totally apart from the material equipments. It enables them to function, but it has nothing to do with them. So what you're talking, trauma, pain, that belongs to the mind. So does pleasure. Pleasure and pain are emotions that the mind feels. So the consciousness makes you aware of that emotion. You can't be aware of pain unless you're conscious of it. You can't be aware of pleasure unless you're conscious of it. But consciousness has nothing to do with it. So what carries forward is your mind. That will carry forward. So, and the mind consists of your desires, feelings, emotions. Now what you're talking about it, do our memories carry forward? No, they don't. You are given a clean slate to start afresh. If your memory carries forward, you won't be able to live in the next life. It's as simple as that. In fact, even in this life, 99.99999 Go on. Percent of your memories are wiped out. Do you know that? How many experiences have you had since your birth till now? Trillions. How much do you remember? Not even in thousands. Basic things we remember. See, what I'm saying is, do you remember 2 weeks back what you ate on Monday morning? Do you remember who you saw on the subway on Tuesday evening? I mean, what are we talking? Everything is wiped out. So nature gives you this gift. Even trauma you're talking, what you feel the first day, how you felt when you heard somebody near and dear to you was lost. Second day, 50% is gone. Literally. Otherwise, you can't live. By 2 weeks, it's 5% of what you felt on that particular day. In a year, 1%. So it's like that. It's called apohanam in Sanskrit. The capacity to forget. So the body will go, the mind, intellect, the pure desire and reason will carry forward. And then it will need 10, 12 years to reprogram itself. That is childhood. You start totally fresh, no remembering anything. Then you need 10, 12 years to understand what is going on around you. Only then the mind, intellect are available in the next life. Only when you're about 12, 13. So everything is wiped out by nature. Otherwise, how can you live? Imagine you remembered, suddenly you go to 85-year-old. Hello, honey. And how old are you? 5. How is it possible? So it's gone. It's not, there have been cases where there have been some stray, very, very rare cases where they've been able to. But even in those cases, by the time they're 12, 11, it's gone. It just comes like a freak. It's like a freak case, So don't worry. You move on moment to moment and keep doing what ought to be done. That's what he says here. Therefore, fight, O Bharata. What do I need to do now? That's the only thing you control. Pandurang.
Hari Om Gautami. So the question on this verse, like in this verse, it basically talks about our nature as imperishable, indestructible. But
Yes.
for us, like it's always, there's a feeling that yes, there's always feeling of fear for death, or even if I'm the one everywhere in everything, but I always have that feeling that okay, no, I'm different from everything. So it's like it seems like a bit of paradox wherein like what the verse says and what I experience as an individual, it's completely opposite.
In other words, you're saying you're not enlightened. What are you saying? I understand everything is one, but I feel different. Because you feel different, you're not enlightened. The minute you feel one with every being and everywhere, that's enlightenment. So one is a theory. One is the process by which you become one with the knowledge. That is a lifetime of commitment. So you have to work on it. See, it's like saying, I understand which food is good for me, which food is bad for me, but every time I go to a restaurant, I overeat all the wrong things. I eat junk. Just because you know means you live it. It's the same thing. So just because you know the one self pervades everything and everywhere, that's just the starting point. At least you know that you must strive to become one with the universe. That is a very high state. So don't worry. You keep gaining the knowledge, keep functioning unselfishly, and slowly you'll become one with that concept. So all you're saying is, I'm not a saint. We know that. You don't have to say it. That's all you're saying. Anything else? Just because your name is Panduranga means Panduranga has become. It's another name for Krishna. Just because your parents named you, why am I not become that? It's like saying that. Doesn't work. All Indians are named after gods, goddesses, concepts, renunciation, nothing. Zero connection between the name and the game. Totally different. Tiger, name itself is scary. Yeah. Tiger amongst men, correct. Even Arjuna's name was Purusha Vyagra, right? Yes.
Follow up from the previous question. I understand that memories don't go forward, but in an example of chronic trauma, like somebody who's raised in an abusive household, can that create further desires or new karmas that get carried forward to inform future lifetimes rather than memories carrying forward?
Yes, all the desires are the things that carry forward. Desire is everything. Desire is what makes you what you are. You are nothing but a bundle of desires right now. You, me, everybody. So the body is a creation of your desires. I've told you. Because the desires need the body to express themselves. That is life. So when there's death, the body, it's like you need your car to go from place to place. You're not your car. So the car is discarded and you take another car. That's all that happens. That's what he's saying. Why? So memory is wiped out. The body is gone. What goes forward is that desire and the capacity to think, which is your intellect. Because that also you've created. Whatever capacity you have to think and reason. And desires is the mind. These two things carry forward, nothing else. Indronil.
Yes, Guruji. My respects to you. I have a follow-up question on someone who asked about if they carry the memories of their past trauma from one lifetime to a different lifetime. I heard what you just said to what you replied to that person, but in my experience, while surfing the net or watching different items, I've come across people who are very enlightened. Like, I don't want to name anybody as such, but say they can remember certain aspects of their past lives. So, do you
see? I've already answered that, Indronil. So please think about it and come to your own conclusion. Because I have given you the logic and reason for it. And if somebody claims and does this or that, you talk to them. I mean, I've already explained this. There's nothing more to add to what I have said so far.
Okay. Thank you, Guruji.
Yeah, sure. Seema?
Hi, Namaste, Guruji. The question is that fight in the case of Arjuna, it's literal fight. In our case, what does fight mean and whom are we fighting? That's one. And in the shloka, there are two words used, deha and sharira. So what's the difference between those two words?
Which shloka?
The one we, I think, just did, 18. Yeah, there are two words. Deha and sharira to me are same.
Without getting into Sanskrit semantics, deha, which is plural, bodies, sharirinaha, of the embodied, within the body. See, you're using just the word sharir and deha, what you've heard, and saying it's the same. The Sanskrit is what makes the difference. That which is within the body is referring to the self, and the plural bodies refer to the material equipments, which I already explained. So, if you are interested, you should get the commentary by Swamiji, which has the word by word translation. If you're interested in the Sanskrit derivation, and then he translates the whole thing. Okay. So the focus is on this. You focus on the eternal and do what you ought to do to get there. The second part of your question, fight refers to that. So in our case, the fight in the Mahabharata is symbolic of the fight between your intellect and your mind. So the whole spiritual path is nothing but a fight between your higher spiritual intellect, which understands that the purpose of life is to get to the self, versus the mind, which is constantly focused on these lower material sensual tendencies. That is the fight. So therefore fight, I'm glad you asked that, means continue this process of trying to conquer the mind. Conquer your mind, you conquer the world. You become enlightened. That's the fight. Not literally now you have to go fight with your family. That you're already doing. In fact, opposite you should do, right? For us. Right. So I know this is a lot to process, but we will continue bit by bit. So not to worry. Secondly, those of you who were not there yesterday, I had announced that September is our last in-person event of the year, where we all get together and meet and study together. All this is online, so we don't get a chance to meet in person. So it's definitely very productive. We get away for 3 days and sit and learn something no less than the Upanishads, which is the highest philosophy. We try and replicate the ashram schedule. It's a great experience. So for those who are new, even if you are from out of town, not a problem. We can always help you with the logistics of getting there. A lot of people come from outside. And secondly, these talks are all free of charge. Obviously, we want to make this education available to anyone. So these retreats, we have a suggested contribution. But if any one of you has a genuine problem with that, you can't afford it, it's not a problem. So just reach out to us and we will help you, whatever needs to be done. So, but you let us know, because we need to confirm our numbers with the venue this week. Okay? Hari Om.